Hey guys, welcome back to the Young and Heard podcast. We're very happy that you're with us today, that you're joining us. If you're on YouTube, that you're watching us, if you're listening to us on any of our platforms, because we are everywhere, it's available everywhere. Welcome back to this podcast. So I have some friends here, and honestly, yeah, you guys are my friends, but they're also my bandmates. Cess is in the band, and so is Rambo. And then to my left here, I have Devani, Dani, and then all the other 5 things we call you.
If you don't catch me, I'm behind the drums playing like a piano.
She plays like a little synth behind. She's like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Okay, so before we get started on our topic, we're going to do a little icebreaker, okay? So I want you guys to tell me about an experience where you left somebody on red or they left you on red, okay? So has that ever happened to you before where either you DM somebody or you were talking to someone? And I have an example, actually. Okay, the person, You have one before I go? Okay, you'll go after me, okay? So the person that laughed in the back in our production, his name is John. He's our drummer, and he runs our tracks and everything for the band. John is notorious for leaving people on red. And I would consider myself like one of John's best friends, I think, right, John? Would you say we're pretty close?
John, I would just turn off your reading. Like I'm the type of person that looks at it and then I'm just like, okay, I'll answer later, and then you just forget.
So I have this bad habit of sending voice audios, and
they're like 4 minutes long.
And they're 4 minutes long. I like to talk, okay? Clearly I'm doing this podcast because I like to talk. And I've sent voice audios to John that he calls Spotify episodes. He goes, you sent me John, I swear. He's like, you didn't send me a voice audio. That was a Spotify podcast episode that you sent me. So John's left me on red a couple times, but I understand. That's just the way he rolls with his phone. What about you, Debs? Do you have any stories on being left on red?
Yeah, so I have a couple friends that I don't see often. So there was this one time where I started going through my old stuff, and I sent this picture, and it was kind of like an embarrassing picture of both of us.
Yeah.
And I was just left on red, and I was like, I just kind of like showed you something. And then I was like, what? And then later he responded that he was at work. But I was like,
yeah.
It was like 2 hours of anxiety.
Right?
Know?
Yeah.
Like,
you're like,
oh my God, what does that mean?
You're like, did I do something wrong, or like, am I like, it's like a confusing thing. Do you have a story? No. Okay, let me ask you. So who leaves who on red? Moises leaves you on your red, or you leave him on red? Tell us the truth without looking at him. Don't look at him. Tell us this. Spill the tea.
Moises sucks at replying.
Oh, for sure. He's the worst. If you call him, if you text him, don't. Just call 911. Like, if you're in an emergency, don't even call Moises. Like, he will not pick up. Okay.
But he changed that. So
he's working on it.
Call him.
He's working on it. Okay. I like that. 2021, He's different. It's not on silent anymore. Now it's on vibrate.
So if I'm dying, he'll pick up now.
It used to be on airplane mode. Now it's on silent. Okay. Now, Rambo, do you have a story there where either you were left on red or somebody left you on red? No? You've never left anybody on red.
I left Noe on red.
No, not me. I'm saying like other people. This guy is in football, in theater, and he sings. This guy's leaving people on red, left and right, I think. No? Okay. So the topic for today, talking about leaving people on red. The topic for today is unanswered prayers. So yeah. So what does that look like? Because sometimes we go to God and we have a petition or a miracle that we need, or we just want to pour out our hearts to Him, and sometimes as we do that, it feels like God leaves us on red. Yeah. It feels like those prayers they go unanswered, and it feels like they never got to, like, did you even get my prayer, God? Like, I sent it to you at 7 a.m., you know, or at 10 p.m., whenever you pray. Why aren't you answering me, God? What's up? I want to ask you guys about that. So have you ever prayed for something or tell me about a time that you prayed for something and it felt like God just did not hear your prayer? And how did that look? Who wants to go first?
Ooh, can I go first?
Yeah, that's
okay.
yeah.
I actually want to talk about a time where it was probably like a year or two ago when I was graduating high school. I have to say that's probably like the hardest like part of my life, because I kept asking God, like, God, what's the next step? Like, God, what's the next step? I was graduating school. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I had applied to schools. Like, I didn't get into the one I wanted. And then all of these things were happening, and I was just asking God, and, like, I was like, God, where are you? Like,
wow.
I need it.
Yeah.
I need to know where I'm supposed to be heading and stuff. And it was, like, that whole summer that it was just a time where God didn't answer, and God wasn't answering until I realized that it was just not time yet, you know?
Wow.
And slowly by slowly, I ended up changing my whole major. A lot of things just ended up happening, and I feel like I'm on track. And it was like doing this process where it was hard, you know? And I feel like, you know.
Wow. That's a really powerful story. I want to bring up the conversation you and I were having about, by the way, get you a friend that sends you Christian TikToks, because they always hit, like, you know. So you had sent me a TikTok that was like, the reason why God's not answering your prayers because you're not ready yet, or because he's doing something. And then that was one TikTok. Then there was another one. I think was it the same one where it had the song? Okay. So that TikTok had a song that we're going to play this Thursday. Too Good Not to Believe. That's where we got it from. Yeah, exactly. So we were talking about that, about how I was opening up to Rambo, and I was telling him how that was going to be a hard thing for me to sing over my life and over anyone else's lives, because I have been praying for a miracle, you know, and it felt like, and sometimes it feels like God is delayed, or like he's late, you know, quotation marks, late. And so tell me about that. So, you know, tell me about the song and about the conversation we were having, Rambo.
So I was in school, you know.
He's like, I was busy, but
no, we weren't doing anything. So I was just scrolling through TikTok, and I saw that. And I sent it to Noe right away, and I was like, bro, we have to do this song. Like, it was such a powerful song. It was just like moved. And I started listening to it like the whole day, and I was like, man, the bridge part is where like it just
hits.
takes off. And you start to think, or I was starting to think, I was like, man, like, why aren't these things happening to me?
Wow.
You know, like, I see all these people getting these amazing blessings.
Yeah.
You know, when's my time coming? You know, like, why is it happening to them? And I'm over here like, what am I doing? Like, have I been so blind?
Wow.
Like, I was remembering, I don't remember the word, but I was remembering like a couple years ago back. Yeah. And I was like, man, I remember when I was praying to God that I can get a car or a driver's license and start driving. And I was complaining, and it never happened until like right now. And I was like, what a perfect moment. And I was praying that I would find a right church with a home.
Wow.
And here I am.
I think we all forget like our prayers like from a long time ago, you know, and then we start like adding on like these new things, and then we forget like that God has answered all of those. Wow. Like we forget like the prayers that we had like a few months ago because we're so focused on like what we have right now that we're like, God answered all of those, and we're over here like focused on these new things.
Actually, I was about to ask you why you think that it feels like God doesn't answer our prayers. And I think you answered it before I even asked you that. And you said it's because we forget the things that he's already done in the past, you know? And it reminds me of another song that said, that the song says in the verse, these are the days that we prayed for. Where you are right now is something that you prayed for, something that you were worried about, anxious about, burdened about. And now God has put you through what he had to put you for you to get the knowledge to be where you are today, right? And so
I feel like we're so like stuck on like right now that like we forget like what we had asked for like in the past.
Yeah, and it's crazy because as I was opening up to Rambo about what the song "Too Good Not to Believe" meant to me, and why it was a little bit hard for me to hear it or to play it even on a in a service, I was telling him that I felt like God was just taking too long or that he wasn't answering. But I began to remember whenever earlier in the year I had a very, very tough health crisis, and I was homebound for a few months, and it was very, very hard. And I remember praying. This is crazy, guys, because don't ever take for granted your youth service, your worship service, any services that happen in your church. I used to watch it via YouTube because our church, they put it on YouTube and it's a great production and everything. But I remember praying. I was like, God, I just want to be at your house. I just want to be able to worship from the physical place. I want to be back in that atmosphere. And God answered that prayer. Even though it felt like it took forever, and it felt like in some moments he wasn't there, God was there. And this is crazy, guys, because the doctors had told me that I was going to be on oxygen for 3 months. Okay. And so they said that like this was in January. So they said, you probably won't be able to go back to singing and doing everything you do until April. Right. And I was over here like crying to my mom, like, Mom, like there's a new service that's launching, and how am I going to do it? And everybody from the band and we're all trying to figure it out. And God answered that prayer. Right. And I just forgot, like, don't ever take for granted, like I'm never going to take for granted being able to breathe again. Lord, the fact that I can breathe today is a miracle in itself, because there are some people that are hooked up to a machine like I was, you know what I mean? And so it's what you said, Sess. It's that we forget sometimes, right? And so I wanted to ask you, Devani, when was the time that you realized that God had answered your prayer, and it kind of like, it was like that flip of the switch moment where you were like, so this is why, because I think you said that it wasn't the right time and you had to take something else, right?
Right. I actually want to connect it to something that I saw on TikTok that I've been carrying like all day long.
Okay.
And I even told my mom about it, but it was this TikTok about this guy that was asking this youth pastor, like, all my family is going ahead. Everybody's getting everything he wants, and I still haven't got anything. You know? I keep praying to God that I keep praying, I keep doing everything right. Why isn't God answering me? And please don't answer me the way everybody else has.
Wow.
And they were like, I'm in this waiting period, right?
Wow.
And she was like, she thought about it, and she was like, okay, like, what can I say? And then she was like, you're in a waiting period where you have to be preparing yourself, towards that you want. And I feel like during the part where this summer was just really bad, I was trying to focus on what it is that I want to do. How do I strive to do what I want to do? And it was even at that youth camp that we had. It was very small. We were all stuck in this room, and I had this like huge connection with God.
Wow.
And it was where God started revealing to me what it is for my life and what I have to strive for. And I don't have all the answers, but it was that clear. It was just that summer that a lot of things changed in my life.
Yeah.
And slowly, God started showing me what's for me,
Wow.
And he's only going to give you as much as you're prepared for.
Yeah.
And he's never going to give you more than you can handle. So if you're in that phase of waiting, if you're in that phase that you keep asking God, what are you doing about it? What are you doing to get closer to your goal? What are you doing with God, with your life, with what are you doing in your spare time? So I think that's what helped me. I still don't have it all figured out, but it's just something.
And sometimes no answer is an answer.
Yeah.
Because just because it didn't work out that way, right? Like the way that you wanted to, it doesn't mean that there wasn't a purpose, you talked about. And I think this was Eli that preached about it a few weeks ago. He preached on like being mad at God and like forgiving God, right? And I think that a lot of us have felt that frustration or that impatience in, like what you're saying, a waiting period, right? Because it feels like he's not moving fast enough, you know? And we're such control freaks, and I think that this is like the essence of sin is you thinking that you know what's best for your life and want to be the shot caller for your life, right?
Especially today in society, everything we feel like everything's fast, like everything's moving fast.
You can order something and it'll get there in minutes, you know?
And you're just like, God, why is my life not working that way? You're like, why aren't you connecting all these things together? And it's everything.
And it is. And I was opening up to a friend about it this week as well. Weichel, he's not here right now, but Weichel, I was talking to him about it and I was sharing, just pouring out. I was like, I'm still waiting and it feels like it's taking forever. And he said, maybe you're not praying the way that you ought to be praying, right? Wow. And I was like, what do you mean? And he took me to a passage in, I believe it was Matthew or Mark, where Jesus is in the garden of Gethsemane and he's praying, Lord, if it is possible, let this cup pass over me. And let me tell you that when he told me that, and he said, okay, he prayed, God, if it's possible, like I don't want to endure this. It's very hard. The Bible tells us that Jesus was nervous, that he was sweating really badly, and that in that prayer he said, but let it be your will and not mine, right? And so that was the cure to his fear, anger, frustration, anxiety. That was the cure, was him praying, let it be your will and not mine. And what's crazy about that moment is that Jesus felt God's cold shoulder. Jesus got God's silence. Jesus, his prayer was left unread, unanswered, so that when we go to him, we can freely go to the Father and ask for anything. So we just want to leave that with you in this episode, and we want to encourage you to keep praying in the middle of whatever season you are, whatever miracle you need. It's day. I love this quote. It says, "Day will come again." So thank you guys for tuning to our Young and Heard podcast. We will see you next week.
For more of this podcast, follow us on Instagram at Grace Youth Espanol and at Young and Heard.